Hey D&D fam, I'm Quick.
And I'm Lee, and you're listening to
Divas and Ducats. So what is a diva? I think divas get a bad rep, but to me, diva is all about the attitude.
As for ducats, it's your finances, your assets, Skrilla, guap, your coin. We're talking all things with the potential to affect your pockets.
And while we're attorneys by trade, we are divas by choice. Divas and Ducats is for edutainment purposes.
Y'all, we are not Series 511 or 703 professionals. This does not create a financial advisor or attorney-client relationship. The views expressed here are solely our opinions and the opinions of our guests.
It's just our opinion, y'all. Okay, divas, let's talk Ducats.
Hey, D&D fam, welcome back.
Yes, welcome back. And if you are used to watching our YouTube channel, you see that Lee has a different co-host this time. I am on the screen out of town, but we could not miss this episode. And what are we going to be talking about today, Lee?
So we are talking about buying back the block, right? So no matter what you want to call it, gentrification, displacement, urban renewal, some of the older folks you like to use, it is affecting pretty much every major city that you can think of. And a lot of times, some people talk about it and feel kind of hopeless. And a common thing that maybe some people say is like, hey, maybe those with means can buy the block and keep those who lived in certain neighborhoods able to stay. And so we brought in a guest because we like to have those who are, knowledgeable in the fields that we discuss. And so today we have Mr. Winston Robinson with us. Welcome.
I appreciate you guys for having me. Lee and Quick, shout out to y'all. I'm excited to have, good conversation. We can kind of dive deep and see how we feel and strategize and hopefully find some solutions for some people.
Sure.
Let's chop it up. All right. So, Winston, tell our audience a little bit about just who you are, what you do, what got you into the passion of buying back the block.
So more than anything, I'm a concerned citizen. Okay. I'm a lifelong Charlotte resident, Charlotte native from the west side. Are you from there?
Yes.
Yeah.
704.
Yeah. And I'm from, which actually makes sense to why I'm here because I'm from the hood.
Okay.
The hood being, which is now Wilmore, is not the hood anymore. That's my nickname. People call me Wilmore for that reason because when I went to college, I was repping like I would go to East Lamar. Like, now, where y'all from? I'm from Wilmore. I wouldn't say Charlotte.
Right.
So, the nickname or the moniker stuck. And I remember in college coming home and like, yo, where's so-and-so's family? Well, they had to leave.
Yeah.
All right, where's this? All of my childhood friends were being displaced during this 5-year stretch when I was away in Winston-Salem.
Okay. So
I couldn't conceptualize it at the time as gentrification, but I just knew something wasn't right.
Right.
And and now Wilmore's a totally different place. Like, if you live in Charlotte, there's a swanky Italian bistro called Pasta and Provisions.
Okay.
Well, that used to be the corner store. I be want to go in there and tell them so much. You have no idea how much crack was sold right out of Pasta and Provisions. But all of my childhood friends are gone, and I just could not understand why. But yeah, I'm a regular guy. I work in automotive marketing with a company out of Detroit, Dearborn, and so my should I just get into it?
Yes.
So my wife and I bought a house in 2015.
Okay.
And that was in the Lockwood community.
Okay.
Lockwood is 0.7 miles from Uptown. It's the first neighborhood you hit going north on either North Tryon or Graham. So it's the first single-family home neighborhood that you hit leaving Uptown.
Yep.
In 2016, Realtor.com, BET seconded their source, and a few other sources deemed Lockwood the third fastest gentrifying community in America. So This is before my wife and I had our son.
Mm-hmm.
So she said, you ought to go to a neighborhood meeting, just check it out, get more involved. And, we didn't really have anything to do. We, again, didn't have kids.
Yeah.
So I left that neighborhood meeting as the vice president.
Okay.
Now, I didn't know what I was doing or what I was walking into. So, again, this is one of the fastest gentrifying neighborhoods in America. So now I'm seeing residents who've lived in this neighborhood for decades, 50 years, and they're used to how just being disenfranchised, being underserviced, under-resourced, underfunded, under everything. And on the flip side of that, I see a new demographic of neighbors moving in, and they won't change fast, and they complain about who's been there, and there's so many things.
Yeah, and got petitions.
Exactly, and have strategy and organization and just deceit. And I wanted to know, like, how did we arrive here as a society? What exactly happened? How? Because it was just perplexing to me. It was troubling. I hated being in that position. It was such a thankless job. So that led me to read, because I was the liaison between this faction of people, that other faction of people, and city, county, and community resources.
Okay.
So they all had everybody had a separate agenda for what they wanted this finite amount of resources for.
Right.
So, again, it just got me frustrated to the point I just wanted to research it. And it led me to a book that, it's a magazine article from The Atlantic, but it's 20,000 words, which is super long. So I tell people I read a book.
Yeah.
It was Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Case for Reparations.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. It blew my mind. And that led me to another book, Color of Law by Richard Rothstein, which he referenced to build his case for the case for reparations. And what it did is give me the perspective of racism from the point of housing policy.
Okay.
And I had no idea. Like, you black in America, you can feel that ever-looming sense of racism just everywhere. But you can't articulate it or conceptualize it in a way that makes sense for you, so you can point directly to.
So it's not feelings. It's something to back up that feeling, right?
And when you do a little digging and see how housing policy affects America, you can see exactly where that community peril stems from. Okay. And it gave me my answer, like, okay. This is what redlining does. This is what, this is why we can't build equity. This is why all my childhood friends were displaced out of Wilmore, because they were long-term renters. And this is where equity and access was withheld from, and I really try to be intentional about not saying our ancestors, because that would make it feel like it just didn't happen. And
like it was so far.
Yeah, this was literally 1967. Like this, my dad is 73. He could have been. He was in a position to not have these resources.
Right.
So it wasn't that long ago. This is well within living memory.
Right.
However, it throws off the balance to affect multiple generations of people who live with this today.
So let's back up a second, because I think a lot of times, Quick and I have conversations, especially when we talk about building generational wealth or, estate planning. And if you got that piece of property, hold on to it, because this is what you can do with it. And one of the kind of frustrations or points that can't be overlooked is that some people simply can't afford to, right? If I'm trying to get through today, I can't think about, unfortunately, next generation when I can't pay these taxes today, because maybe now someone has come into grandma's neighborhood and taxes were $1,000 a month. Now they're 4 times that on a fixed income. So talk a little bit about like what is this, what is the redlining or the redistricting? Like, what are those concepts?
So redlining is essentially a practice that was just made illegal circa 1959, 60-ish. That essentially said you could have deed restrictions prohibited based on race, any bias, basically. So if you go to Myers Park, matter of fact, Wilmore, if you go to neighborhoods in Charlotte, you will see in old deeds, this house is not to be owned by anyone of the Negro race.
Right.
So what that essentially does is not just bar you from that neighborhood. You are like what's the word they do for sheep?
Herd it.
Yeah, you're herded to a very specific place where only you can live. And since they've redlined you to only this specific place, they said it has no value just because you're black and you live there.
Right.
So what does that do for your long-term wealth? They made you buy here. This is the only place you can buy, and they've deemed it worthless.
Right.
So that's how you create long-term renters. And not only that, there's an insidious secondary market who understands, like, if the law or the government is this non-protective of this group of people, well, we can pretty much do the same thing.
Right.
So that's why it's a lot of, like, if you know black people who rent, one thing they won't do is tell the landlord they have issues because they don't want the rent to go up. So you can basically, you can treat them any kind of way. You feel like this, and that's inherited too. That's generational too. You don't complain because you don't want your rent to go up. So therefore, you're kind of a hostage to this home because you need a place to live. And that's how you get peril. That's how you get slums because it's just a cash market that nobody is not a consumer landlord relationship.
Right.
Yeah, it's just people taking advantage of people. So yeah, so redlining, again, it's not just keeping somebody out of a neighborhood. It's what do you do with them now that you've told them they can't live here? You place them here and you devalue the home, and it's simply because they were black.
And similarly, how is redistricting like distinguished from that?
So it depends on what you mean. So
because I know a lot of times they do it around voting times, of course.
Yeah. So what's going on right now with gerrymandering? Everything is cattle herding. That's what I was trying to.
There you go.
Sheep or everything is cattle herding. It makes no sense that Alma Adams represents me in Charlotte right now. She out of Greensboro somewhere. However, they drew the line specifically so our district encompasses that long stretch of where black people are. So you can kind of concentrate those votes and it won't be as powerful. This is what everything is about, leverage and power.
Yep.
So whether it's redistricting, whether it's gentrification, whether it's gerrymandering, all of it's racism. Every single one of it is how can we marginalize black people? And the reason I say black people, because black and brown will essentially begin a process of converting to whiteness soon. So it won't always be black and brown. Because if this was 1920, it would have been black and Irish. If it was 1930, it would have been black and Italian. If it was 1940, it would have been black and Polish. There's always a group of people with black people who essentially transitions into whiteness while black people are left behind. So, yeah, it's black people.
That's a word. So, and we see these shifts, like I think, we kind of said in the beginning, like people of a certain generation, like my dad called it urban renewal, or some people, I was on a tour, nice colorful
Did your daddy go to Second Ward?
My daddy went to Independence. He was bus. They grew up on right there near LaSalle.
Okay.
So
that's a journey. Good Lord.
I know. Well, everyone else went to West Charlotte. But just depending on the generation you come up in, and I recently went on a city tour where they called the burgeoning area, they said they revitalized it and because it was neglected, and it's the colorful language. And I think one of the things that I'm always thinking about or wondering and would love to get your opinion on is how can we and those who are affected by gentrification be less reactive to these shifts that are happening and more maybe proactive in terms of like maybe keeping their homes or being able to kind of hold on. Like, what are some shifts that we can make? Because it's always changing where the place to be is, right?
So you have to be ahead of the curve. This is a point in America where gentrification is happening throughout the country, where black people have more control of a long-term destiny, in a sense that we own a lot of the property that's highly demanded. That didn't happen in the 80s when they had white flight to the suburbs.
Right.
Black people didn't own a lot in Mint Hill or Ballantyne or Huntersville. However, now that there's a reemergence in cities, our grandma owns a lot of this property. However, on the flip side of that, it's grandma's property and she wants you to have it, but you grown, you got your own house, which is 3,000 square feet. What you gonna do with grandma 800 square foot brick house? You know?
Right.
So now it's a blessing to everybody from the outside, but you might see it as a burden because, it needs about $150,000 worth of work. Is small for anybody's needs that, you think you can know, like you don't want to deal with being a renter. So when some person just calls you out of the blue because they know their ownership is transferred, saying, hey, we'll give you $60,000 for your house.
Right.
Look here. Okay. And, honestly, I used to look at those people with a side eye.
As predatory.
No. I still do look at them with side eye. I'm talking about the people who sold it.
Right.
Okay.
But now I'm more empathetic because I understand that, life is hard.
Yeah.
Life is hard, If you see something as a burden, somebody's coming offering you a bag of money, I understand the ideology and just trying to be done with it.
Yeah.
So so when people call you and say, hey, I give you basically nothing for this house, what I know is worth, a lot of people fall prey to that. I can show you my voicemail now. Get them 3, 4, 5 times a day.
Right.
So
and you're like, how do you find me?
I know.
Why is this
I
legal?
know how to find them. The thing is, you got to call them back. See, when I was petty and had a lot of time, I was like, tell me your name. Oh, okay. Now look at where you live. I say, you trying to sell your house? But as again, you can't. I had to grow out of that because you can't just waste your own time. That took a lot of effort. I had to bait them into a personal relationship. Like, I might sell it to you. What's your name? Gotcha. I forgot where we were going.
Just about the people, instead of reacting to the shift.
Yes. So in short, that house, if you go through, even if you wanted to sell it, go through more traditional measures of due diligence, get what it's worth, understand its value. If you make a decision based on that information, you'll be better. You'll preserve neighborhoods. Talk to your neighbors, because one thing I've learned living on the West Side, it's a lot of old rich black people around here, and you would never know it. They would want to buy it. Don't just take the first dollar waving in your face.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always think about when, like you said, if people calling 10, 12 times a day, it's right. It should always be a sign to you, even if you don't know about gentrification and know what's going on. It should always be a sign to you when white people start calling black people and begging for what you got. There's some bells.
My neighbor said that. She said my mama told her a long time ago. She said if somebody white wants something from you, hold on to it. So it's however simplistic that may sound.
Right.
It's done her a lot of good.
Yeah.
And so in terms of like obtaining the property, like the process that you and your wife went through in finding the home and even like looking at talk a little bit about that process. How did you know?
So the first house we bought was an estate house.
Okay.
And we bought that from my mom and uncles. And the reason I know that I have that empathy because my uncle was ready to just be like, F it all, give me my money. I'm tired of this, because when you have an estate and there's 4 people making decisions, they're all going separate ways. And it's easy to break them. So, again, my wife and I were looking for a home at the time, and we didn't want, again, because grandma's house is small.
Yep.
We didn't want that house. We wanted something that we could grow into. However, we understood the value and potential of it, and we didn't want my uncle to flip out and just be like, whatever. So we bought that house first. And then it was a duplex. So we lived in the front, rented out the back. Then we grew into another home. We just found that on the market in McCrory Heights. I wanted to live in McCrory Heights my entire life because I know the history and the legacy of that community. So when that house popped up on the market, we actually purchased over budget because, again, I just had a desire to be in that neighborhood. Another house we got was just my dad's. It's weird to say because it's not his friend. My dad hangs out at a Bojangles where all old black men go. Okay. And he was one of the old black men that went to Bojangles. And he was like, yeah, my son probably buy that house if you don't want it. And I bought that, yeah. So, all right. Yeah. So, it word of mouth, communication, talking, just, speaking to black people, basically.
Okay. Got you.
And you had mentioned just now, you were saying that when you knew the value like of the land. And I know me and you had talked and talking about, I guess the surface was above the land and not really understanding the value so much of the land.
Facts. Yes. So right now, what's hot is proximity. People want proximity to uptown. One thing about a city, downtown is never going anywhere. You have different mall areas. Like you're from Charlotte. Yeah. You remember what Eastland used to be? Now Eastland is flat. Right. There is no Eastland.
Skate park or something.
Eastland in 1992 was as affluent as you could get in Charlotte.
Eastland was popping.
It was. Well, maybe not 92. Well, 87.
Oh, right.
I mean, as affluent as well, not but it was middle class America. You couldn't tell no one in Charlotte that this place will have this type of instability in 2020. You just couldn't see it.
Right.
And even downtown has its trend, but with downtown, it's too much infrastructure. You can't move it. You can't lose it. So that always means something. Like even in downward spirals, everything has a trend, and that the housing market as well. But if you know you have that proximity, you will always be or have more valuable property than the outer skirted areas. So now that you have this land, you have to understand that it's not about the house. Like even if I keep going back to grandma's 700 square foot, 800 square foot house.
Them 2-room houses.
Exactly. With them tiny closets. That frustrate you. And probably no AC unit. So you got to put another 5. Right. So I get the frustration. However, once you understand the value is in the land, that's the game changer. Like people right now in Smallwood, Biddleville, they are buying houses that are 800 square feet for $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000.
Right.
To essentially demolish them. You're buying the lot. So that tells you it's not about the house, it is about the land.
Right.
And the thing is, going back to Wilmore, I thought white people were having secret meetings. Like I was like, how did they all know to move to Wilmore kind of at the same time? I just didn't understand like what.
Not a secret society.
Yeah, then I'm listening to all this New York rap at the time, so I'm thinking, oh, Illuminati is real. They knew exactly where to come on West Boulevard. But no, I just couldn't fathom, like, how did they all just want to move to Wilmore? There was no precursor to gentrification in my world, at least.
Right.
I'm just seeing this massive shift. Wait a minute. My friends used to live here. Why is this young white lady and a dog now across the street? I just could not make sense of it. So that's when I, again, working with the city and being a neighborhood president, you understand how planning works and how important that is and what they show you and what strategies are. Like private money follows public development. And the reason the reason the neighborhood changed for Wilmore, 2 reasons. When that stadium came in the mid-90s and when that light rail came in the early 2000s. What was an industrial area, and what was a poor black neighborhood, started as a white neighborhood and then to another poor black neighborhood, is now the hottest community in Charlotte, one of the highest communities in Charlotte. And that's all because of they understood the planning. The 20 years, they say, all right, we're going to put this light rail here. That makes sense. So the private money then says, okay, if people are attracted to that, we can build here at a premium. You see what I'm saying? And that affects everything around it. So now those single family homes, like, oh, okay, yeah, let's spike our value up 25% just on the idea of it. And it keeps going up until, it ain't no more black people.
And this usually is quick slime, but I'm going to give him a shout out right now. My daddy said, he was always saying that, like I said, grew up on Beatties Ford, and he was always saying anything that has a direct vein into downtown, that's where you want to be. And so talk to us a little bit, because like I now live near the airport, so not directly downtown, but you notice little things, like you said, little small clues of like, okay, something's happening. So I was talking to Quick the other day. I was on my little walk at the park, and I was like, girl, they got a whole new playground. It's colorful. They didn't cut back some things. I said, I think some white people coming. And I did. I said it. And so, but talk to us about, just that thought process of the city plan, or I guess now maybe they're looked out to, I don't know, maybe 20 years, 2040. Talk to about that, like, how does that work, and what should people be looking at in terms of like, if they're thinking of going somewhere or where to be?
What year is this?
2021.
So we're already in it. Like, this podcast will be released at the perfect time, because you can see the new plans coming out. And that's what I didn't see. When white people started coming to Wilmore, what year was that? 2000. Then the next one is 2020. You know what plan they're doing now? The 2040 plan. And the thing is, and I'm realizing this now that I'm grown, 20 years go by quick.
Yeah.
It seems like forever, but it goes by quick. And they understood that the business communities, they understood that 20-year plan, and they saw what was coming. Now, what's happening right now? You say you live by the airport. Now, I know the city just spent I forgot, but tens of millions of dollars just on a study to create a route for that train to go to the airport, and I believe all the way to Belmont to the River District. So a new train line, right? If they spend that much money just on the study, likely that
they're gonna do it.
Exactly. So what does that do for all of those neighboring communities on that Wilkerson train line? That's Wilmore coming up, but 2040. And the thing is, with land, they don't make more of it. No, it's finite. So, I can't go on the other side of town and just make some more land.
Right.
So these black folk got to go. They poor. We can do whatever we want. And they got their proximity to uptown. They got proximity to that train. Take them to the airport quick. And next thing you know, you ask them, where did all the black people go? You just don't know. It's Shelby, Gaston.
So you just don't know.
So, but no, that's what it is. That's America, shuffling black people around.
There's a quote for a T-shirt.
And you speaking of shuffling black people, I don't mean you have a conversation. You were saying you can't outrun who you are. Talk about that.
Well, this your podcast. I ain't say it like that.
We know who we brought on, so go ahead and say what you got to say.
Nah, I ain't gonna say that because but I thank you for making it. I guess so much more eloquent.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely use more colorful language, but yeah. And I believe that's what brings me peace. That I understand the dynamic of me being a black man in America. And I guess that pessimistic makes me more optimistic on where I am. I'm not chasing what I believe to be a fairy tale ideology. I know that America sees me. I want to say it so bad, but I won't. But I know what America sees me as, and I've accepted that. So when again, I bought my house, the house we live in now, over market price, literally the first day it was listed, because I knew the legacy of the community. McCrory Heights has contributed more to Charlotte than maybe any neighborhood there is, off the backs of just legend. I wanted that for my son, because as much as I revere Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, matter of fact, my son's middle name is Garvey, for Marcus Garvey.
Yes.
As much as I revere those people, Atlanta's far away. Harlem is far away. Jamaica, London, and New York, they're far away.
Right.
However, I can say, you know what? Look out your back window. That house belonged to Thomas Weish. Thomas Weish was the first attorney the NAACP ever hired. He had one of the first desegregation cases ever, when he sued the city because they denied him entry into Revolution Golf Course. And look, that's him right there. Let's take a walk. This right here is the home of Dr. Hawkins. You know, Dr. Hawkins did this. You know, this was Martin Luther King's homeboy. Literally, no, for real. Like I'm telling them stuff. Like Martin Luther, literally, just to not to branch out too far. Martin Luther King. So Dr. Hawkins was the first black man to run for governor of the state of North Carolina. He was a prominent civil rights activist. So when you run for governor, you have people that you know help you fundraise.
Right.
So one of his homeboys was Martin Luther King. Like, yo, can you help me fundraise? I'm having a dinner. I would love if you I can charge people a lot for these plates if you come be a speaker.
Right.
Martin Luther King was like, cool. And now this is my own personal theory. So it was 2 black hotels at the time, and basically one was kind of like a joint hotel. You do your nighttime activity. But the Alexander Hotel was the only black hotel. So if you came to Charlotte, especially if you were of that status, you stayed with people you knew. So I think Dr. Martin Luther King was supposed to stay in McCrory Heights. But anyway, so Dr. Hawkins was having a dinner. He was a dentist by trade, and he was a prominent civil rights activist. That's why they bombed his house, because they couldn't shake him. Usually when I'm getting off on so many tangents.
It's fine.
Usually when you were a civil rights activist back then, they could threaten your livelihood and make you not make you fall back. But he was a dentist with his own practice, so they couldn't shake him, so they ended up bombing his house. But anyway, Dr. Martin Luther King was supposed to come here for a gubernatorial fundraiser for Dr. Hawkins, and he was on the way, and he got a telegraph at the 25th hour saying, "You are needed in Memphis urgently for a sanitation worker strike." So Martin Luther King was literally supposed to be off Beatties Ford Road, but he went to Memphis, and that's where he met his demise.
Yep.
But those stories are priceless that I can tell my son.
Yeah.
Because I'm huge on nurturing confidence. I want a confident black boy.
Right.
And if he knows this type of power, this type of legacy, this type of, drive and ambition is this accessible, he can do anything from where he is.
Well, I think that's so important, just because, and one of the things, again, frustration, so it's nice that you say there's some optimism behind it, because one of the things that, and I will say, I love being from Charlotte, they call us unicorns, whatever, I don't know what the people are, but one of the things that frustrates me is there's some cities that have those historic preservations where maybe the inside was renovated, but this was an original building, and it just saddens me to see in this city, you'll see a cute little lanyard on the street sign that says historic Cherry or historic. And if you're not from here, you don't remember, unless you're a certain generation or you're older, you don't remember Brooklyn. You don't, some of the neighborhoods, people know them by name, but they don't really know the importance. And like you say, now they're places to be. But growing up, you knew, if you weren't from there, you knew not to go to Double Oaks, Greer Heights. You not. So it's really good and warming to hear you say, people should know that history. Your kids should know that and grow up in that. And just speaking of that and not outrunning who you are, just the shifts in that, right? So I know Quick and I were talking about the schools, how they changed. So my brother and I, same house, grew up in the same neighborhood. We have never gone to the same schools. So I grew up Derrida, now that's not even an elementary anymore.
It's not?
No, it's it was a management school. Who knows? Derrida, James Martin, Vance. Well, when my brother came through, you didn't go to those places. He went to Nathaniel Ranson, which was the bad school when I was growing up, and then Mallet Creek. And so all of these shifts, and again, same house, like, so, you know, and getting sent to different places. So, you know, talk to us just about that, you know, the shifts and that constant, I don't even know what else to call it.
Ransom was on the news a lot. It was a kid. Ransom used to keep them pistols. But, so, and that goes back to what Melinda was, Quick and I. I'm so sorry. Oh, my man. Oh, I'm so quick. Excuse me. Edit that out. Somebody. Chop that up. Quick. Excuse me.
Oh, gosh.
That goes to what I was telling Quick when I said you cannot outrun being black. Mm-hmm. So, so you were, well, you might be significantly younger than me if you went to Vance, but this is what I remember. There was a point when the university area was hot. Mm-hmm. And Vance was a school that opened, I believe, in 97 or 98. And back then, Vance was about 85% white, 10% black, 5% other. Mm-hmm. That was in 97.
Yeah.
About 2007, it was about 60% white, 35% black, 30% black, 10% other. 2020, 99% black. This is just 20 years. So what happened is, around that time, they saw, wait a minute, this is about 35% black. Well, let's go back here to Mallet Creek. So let's make Mallet Creek. Let's make that a new school and community and surrounding communities. So this school, Mallet Creek, now started out 95% white, 3% black, 2% other. Right now, it's about 33. What do you think is trending towards? White people saying, I don't want to be around them.
Like,
y'all can have it. Go to that Harris Teeter on Mallet Creek. Ain't no fancy cheeses in the kiosk. That's how you know they are planning their escape. Like, Harris Teeter ain't never sold fatback. Guarantee you.
no fancy cheeses.
No fancy cheese. You know, every Harris Teeter got the fancy cheese kiosk.
They got this little space.
Yeah, it's like a whole island in the Harris Teeter.
You're like, oh, is that Gruyere?
Go to Harris Teeter on Mallet Creek, get some Kraft.
The slicers.
Yeah. But again, that's, that is essentially redlining. That's saying we can identify this very specific group of people that we do not want to financially empower. So let's devalue land, let's move away, let's extract resources and just give it to them.
And it's interesting that when you were giving out those stats, because I was like, I came out in 2005 to date myself a little bit for the young ones that watch us. So yeah, it was like, yeah, it's like getting a little pop of color. I'm coming out. But I look at, because I was helping West Charlotte a couple years ago, pre-COVID, do their senior exits. And I was with a lady who, I guess she was like an alum from years ago, because West Charlotte has a strong alumni base. And she was like, yeah, they rebuilding this school. It's been needing to be rebuilt for 30 years. And I thought about it as you were saying those statistics, like, oh, them kids going to West Charlotte, huh? They're 33. So
I got, all right, so I feel a couple different ways about that. One, I believe that new school isn't for the future of black people in that corridor. Two, I hate that they demolished the school because, again, I'm really big into history.
Yeah.
West Charlotte is about 10 years younger than Myers Park. If you go, I went to Myers Park.
Okay.
And if you go to Myers Park and say, we want to demolish this core Center Quad campus,
it ain't going to happen.
They going to look at you crazy. They going to look at you crazy. However, why not have this same reverence for West Charlotte? West Charlotte is the last remaining post segregation high school we have in the city. There's no more Second Ward. There's no more York Road. There's no more Plato Price. There's no more J.H. Gunn. They changed that to, I believe, an elementary now. What was it? J.T. Williams, I believe, not J.H. Gunn. But yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's it. And even the story of how West Charlotte became West Charlotte. West Charlotte was where Northwest was initially. So if you talk to people older that say they went to West Charlotte before 1961, 64, that's where they went. But again, those people from McCrory Heights I was telling you about, they put so much pressure on the city because they knew you could challenge separate but equal under the pretenses of economics. They know you could not uphold that system separate but equal because you'll bankrupt the city. Matter of fact, I keep getting off on these tangents. The reason West Charlotte is maroon and gold is because they got Hardin's hand-me-downs. Like books, school uniforms, that maroon and gold. Same reason Second Ward was blue and white. They got Central High School's hand-me-downs, which is where CP is.
Yep.
You said West Charlotte got whose hand-me-down?
Harding.
And Harding is not.
You said Hardee's, and I was like, they hamburgers.
You hungry, baby?
Okay, let's continue.
And Harding is where Ray's Splash Planet is now. That was Harding.
Okay.
But yeah. So, again, I just keep getting lost. Where were we going from that?
We just talk about preserving that history and
all right. So the reason, let me tell you, I got to say this though. The reason West Charlotte, the campus we know now, when it was built, it was one of the most advanced schools in the country. High technology, architecture, like it was a really state-of-the-art school. Because again, people, our neighborhood leaders, like from McCrory Heights and surrounding areas, they challenged the separate but equal standard, and they knew they were really close to getting integration.
Yeah.
And white people were like, whoa. Wait a minute. So that when they played the big joker, it was we give you this brand new fancy nice school. You can send all your black people to that. Look how shiny it is and nice. But they eventually had to integrate because that became the law. So the idea of it, like we just don't want to be with you. We'll do what it takes. That is a story in itself. And that's a reason I believe the history of that campus is so important. Because these kids need to understand that. Like, this is how much of their existence was supposed to be unseen, marginalized. You need to know this for, have this perspective of knowing what those before you had to go through and what they sacrificed to make it so you can have it so easy. You got to know who you are.
That's true. And so for those who are, we talk about planning and just the constant trend of really things to watch, like, okay, keep your eye on that. What are some of the resources, maybe those who just can't afford, they're starting to see these rising tax costs and they're struggling. Are there resources for individuals that are kind of facing these issues? Are there things going on?
Yes, and that's why, again, but I have a festival, an annual festival called A Vibe Called Fresh.
A Vibe Called Fresh.
A Vibe Called Fresh. It is basically based around distributing all the information I learned while on this journey. And I wanted to make a point of access so people can get resources. It's a lot of down payment assistance out there. There are a lot of organizations whose primary goal is to help you become a homeowner, help you with financial literacy. And I don't have any particular talent, but I know from my reputation from college and even before that, everybody know Wilmore can throw a nice party. So if I have this ability to gather people, I'm going to use that to my advantage and get people information. And that's what A Vibe Called Fresh is. Come, y'all. I'm sure,
When's your festival?
I ain't released the date yet.
Oh, okay.
I can't release it, but I know I'm really tempted to. That's what I had to stop myself. But it's in the fall.
Okay.
I'm sure you'll see Divas and Duckets talk about it later.
We sure will.
But the point is, these resources are out there. It's about just there's no excuses in an internet age. You can literally Google what you need, what you think is an idea for you to look up. Will somebody help me buy a house? Then down payment assistance option. You see what I'm saying? Go down the rabbit hole, find these resources. They are available. There's NACA here in Charlotte. There's Dream Key Partners, which was formerly the Charlotte Housing Partnership. There is Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo was a part of that 2008 mortgage crisis. It was also extremely racist. And some of their restitution is helping people with down payment assistance. But you wouldn't know that because they don't, of course, they don't want to publicly, like, hey, come get this free money.
Yeah.
But those programs are out there, and you just have to have your ear deep enough on the ground to hear about them. But yeah, you know.
And there's like property tax programs.
Property tax program, property abatement. That's for a lot of our seniors. But there are 1, 2, 3, 4. I know at least 6 programs in Charlotte that will take care of a large portion of the reported issues that people are having. But again, you have to be in those spaces. And that's why, I'm trying to facilitate a way to get that messaging out. And, I know one festival ain't much, but it does a lot to help me sleep at night.
Yeah.
It's more than no festivals.
Thank you, Lee. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Well, one, I want to ask you, where do you usually hold your festival? And two, when you're saying about the resources, you say you have to be in those spaces. Like, what are those spaces? Like, when you talk about the 2040 plan, if someone is interested in that, how do they find where those meetings are? How do they find what that plan is?
And that's weird too, because the 2040 plan, they're really out. The first thing you can do, wherever you live, be a part of your neighborhood association. Go to meetings, because from there you just, you meet people that work for the city, people that work for the county, and they can tell you about resources. Not only that, developments that are happening or future developments, code, what's a violation, sewage and water, like everything that involves where you live, you can learn from your neighborhood meeting. And from there, you just kind of, geek out. You just got to lift up the top layer and see what's underneath.
And what role do you feel like, because now you're seeing, my house personally was sold to me by a Caucasian female, just moving here, but now you're seeing a lot more African-American real estate agents, what role do you feel like they have in knowing, like learning about the land, learning about the value of land, learning where to kind of place people so that they can have an increase in property?
Just like anything else. Lee, I bet you got locks.
I do.
You probably vetted a loctician up and down, did all your research, went to her Instagram page millions of times. That due diligence that you put in to your loctician is the same due diligence you need to put in with a real estate agent. There's a lot of people with real estate licenses who practice real estate. However, they might not have your best interest when it comes to, you purchasing a home. Because ultimately, they just want that 3 to 6%.
Right.
So, they just go show you the home that they think you want without telling you any of the things that could affect your future. Because they know, it's hard to sell a person a home on 20 years in the future. However, you can see these marble countertops right now.
Right.
And that's shiny. You like this? Look at this. Look at these cabinets. Now, it could be somewhere pretty much in Salisbury. It don't matter. They just want you, look, let's just get this over with. You like this house? Come on. So, again, there's the interview process. When you go out to explore the idea of possibly buying a home, you got to be very intentional, very specific, and letting them know what you're looking for and asking them, what they know, basically, like how involved or how knowledgeable they are about city planning.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask them questions and they feel like, they just freestyling, that might not be the realtor for you.
Mm-hmm.
But make them earn your business.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is generally, a home is the largest purchase a person will make in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So you have every right to take that, as seriously as you're supposed to. Like, it ain't, you ain't giving nobody a hard time. You just making sure all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed.
Mm-hmm.
It's imperative. This is your future.
Mm-hmm.
Not just your future, but the future of your lineage, everybody, people after you.
Mm-hmm.
Home ownership is it's a snowball. This not only affects you, but you have no idea how this will affect grandchildren, great nieces. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is how wealth is established in America.
Mm-hmm.
And with something so detrimental deserves a little vetting.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. And my last question, I'll reserve quick if she has any. Are there, you speaking it to, even quick Google searches, but are there groups of, because people talk about, one of the ways is, okay, maybe people who have means, who look like us, can buy the block and rent to people who look like us. Are there groups that of doing that, or resources relating to that?
So again, I feel I'm on the fence about that.
Okay.
Because while I preach and appreciate ownership, I also preach and appreciate building communities.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing right now about black communities. It's already so many renters.
Mm-hmm.
Let's community build. Okay. Like, I understand and I appreciate people for being ambitious and want to build that portfolio. I'm doing it myself, so I ain't not to sound hypocritical.
Mm-hmm.
But I want black people to see the value in their own community. Mm. It's nothing. It's priceless that I get to go home and have a clear head. Like this summer during the pandemic, we had this thing where we had West Side Walk and Talk. Mm-hmm. We just wanted to invite people to, so we can share some of this history that I told you about.
Yeah.
About Martin Luther King was going to Dr. Hawkins. So let's walk the neighborhood and show you that it's not as scary as sensationalism that comes from the news.
Yeah.
But that started from my neighbors and I just seeing what happened to Jacob Blake in Kenosha. Mm-hmm. When he was shot by the police. Mm-hmm. And Jacob Blake's dad went to Winston-Salem State, where I went. And we were just talking about this on the group chat. It was like, man, let's just, I want to start walking so we can talk about this. That is so invaluable, Like, that's my community. You know how hard it is to fight racism out in the world? Mm-hmm. So you want to come home to a sanctuary. You want to come home to peace. And I feel like I have this peace based around the foundation of blackness where I live. Mm-hmm. That is imperative to have in this world. It's priceless. Mm-hmm. So I believe in community. I want us to have community. I want it to be us, where we can all relate and we can all live with each other under these same ideas of growth. And not to say you can't have that with a renter, but renters are in transition.
Yeah.
Right.
You shouldn't want to rent long term. Mm-hmm. So I want people to come to these communities to live. And buy the block is cool now. Mm-hmm. I want people to buy what's beneficial. Mm-hmm. Buying a block, that phrase might not be as meaningful for the 2060 plan. Mm. You see what I'm saying? Because the lines may shift.
Yeah.
So I'm saying buy what is best for your future. Be ahead of the curve. Mm-hmm. We're in a sweet spot right now in blackness because we own, the hot property is the property, again, a lot of us own.
Yeah.
Right.
But that 2060, 2080 plan might not be as such. Mm-hmm. So that means in 2038, you need to be looking, okay, they're saying this area. Matthew's about to get bubbling again. Mm-hmm. Let me go out here and kind of stock up.
Mm-hmm. Got you. Quick, you got anything?
No, I guess just for those those plans.
I feel like I ain't answering y'all questions at all.
Oh no, I
feel like I'm just saying what I want to say.
You've been on it, and you've given
I'm sorry.
It's been a bonus.
My bad. I'm sorry, quick. I ain't mean to cut you off. I was just thinking like, Lord.
No, you're fine.
You did.
So I like the plans. Are they like the council meetings or?
Go to all of it. Council meeting is every Monday.
All of
5:30. Mm-hmm. County meetings day after. Like, go to all of it. Go to all of it. And the thing is, these people, like the county and the city, they try so hard to get community participation. But you don't work the job out. They don't want to do that.
Right.
But it's so important. Mm-hmm. It's super important.
Yeah.
And if you're at work, send a proxy, because I understand some people, they work different hours.
And more and get an agenda. City council meeting can be 4 hours. So you need to get an agenda. You can say, all right, I'm just interested in this. I don't care what kind of leash laws that about to come up.
Right.
So I'm gonna just focus in on this. So I'll probably tune in around 6:30.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And see where they are on the docket.
Yeah.
But learn what you need to know for what you want to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't have any other questions. I just think that is so important. Like the information gathering, the information seeking, just having a desire to have that kind of knowledge. Because a lot of times when you talk to people in our community, especially when it comes to, voting and things, they're only thinking about like the president or and I'm always telling people it's your local people that are making these decisions.
But these local jokers, that's your life.
And even those little like bond votes you'll see at the bottom, they'll say, do you support, because you don't know what it means if you're not attending certain things, do you support this bunch of millions of dollars for certain streets? And I'm like, well, what are certain streets? I need to understand what streets.
It is big money too. You see how many zeros be on that vote?
Bonds, big money, yes. So understand which streets.
Yeah. It's so many things. Like, I remember, I'm gonna be transparent, especially like with judges. It come to voting, I just know who got the blackest sounding name. Let me see. All right, I don't know what they stand for, but I had to realize, like, yo, I'm affecting my life, so I better kind of put the work in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So again, but it's all for your conscience.
Yeah.
What you want, and ignorance can be bliss, but if you want to stay in that blissful state of ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
It's
gonna cost you. You pay for what you don't know.
Absolutely. Ooh, that's a bar.
Yeah.
How about we take it out? Speaking of bars, I'm gonna throw you up under the bus and bring you out, Uncle Wilmo.
Ooh.
Right. Is Uncle Wilmo gonna make a presentation at the Vibe Called Fresh in the fall? That's what I wanted to know.
Well, I didn't work so hard to. Ooh. Oh man.
Oh.
Compartmentalize all these lives I got, but you brought that one. Oh man, but I don't know. That was just me being that was me being silly. What she's talking about is, I turned 40 last Friday.
Oh, happy birthday!
Thank you, I appreciate it. And I made a rap video. It was a bucket list thing. I was supposed to go to Africa for my 40th birthday, but of course a pandemic, so I took some of the money. Just made a rap video. That was for me in high school. I always wanted to,
Okay.
Not that I could ever rap, but I always wanted to do that one time. And
but you dropped at 16.
The whole song. Like hook, bridge.
Oh, you all of it.
Took me 2 weeks to write that thing.
Yeah, no features?
Nah, I ain't need them. But it's called 40 Plus. Available all streaming.
There you go.
I went all out, Lee. I'm gonna do it. I ain't looking for nothing from it, but again,
I am here for it.
It's on Instagram too, TikTok. If you want to make
we can put it in our episode notes.
That's what I said. We already on YouTube.
Uncle Wilmo, 40 Plus.
Uncle Wilmo. Now, Uncle Wilmo, for the people who want to learn more from you, maybe connect in your community walks, where can they find you? Are you on social?
Yeah, that's why I'm weird. I tell people, don't follow me, follow Jesus. I'm not out here trying to, campaign or be famous. Nah, I just want people to have information. So
okay.
Nah, I keep my socials kind of, they belong to me. It's kind of personal.
I got you.
Yeah, so I ain't looking for followers.
Not a problem.
So we will definitely have them linked to a Vibe Called Fresh.
Yes, actually, I take that back. Follow, yes, at a Vibe Called Fresh CLT. at the Applesauce Group. Hell, at Uncle Wilmo. Those are public platforms on Instagram.
The ones that are saved.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about y'all? What about Lee and Quick? What do y'all think? I wanted to ask y'all, what's your perspectives on gentrification? Especially, Lee, you're from Charlotte and you're from Fayetteville. Mm-hmm. What did you, especially you, Quick, when you first moved to Charlotte, what were the notions? Whether they tell you, like, how did you know how to navigate to, buy a house or whatever?
I didn't. I am off, areas that are now being gentrified, but it wasn't because of some intentional plan. I just knew, honestly, I had friends that lived here before that actually went to Winston-Salem.
For real? I know them.
Of course you know them.
Who is it?
McCormick.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Did you see her in the video? Maybe Homecoming?
I did. That's my age. We went to elementary school together.
Oh, that's the homie.
I've known her forever. So, so she was just telling me some areas to move into, but I definitely remember Eastland Mall. I came here early enough to see that go out of the way. Mm-hmm. And just like you said, seeing the area changes, I think university kind of had changed before I got here, but I've seen a lot of those transitions now. People are kind of moving out to Davidson in the Mid Hill area, having friends that have bought in Highland Creek or Prosperity, and they're like, I bought these, houses so my kids can go to good schools, and now the schools are.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they're pissed,
which is also racist, by the way, like a housing market based on school zone. But again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also to go back and reiterate the theory of university, what it's become. You remember university had Gap.
Mm-hmm.
They had a Gap.
They did.
Gap is the pinnacle of suburban whiteness.
And it was across from the Blockbuster.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now Walmart is a beauty supply store.
It is.
It's
nice though.
It is.
But to answer your question though, I don't think we've ever been interviewed. I lived it but didn't realize what it was. So when up until I was about 6, I grew up right off of Paul Creek. I was on Glenmore. That was my parents'
Historic
house.
Black area, by the way.
Yes. So we moved over to IBM Drive near all of that before Nathaniel Alec, that whole Governor's Village was built. So I moved there because my parents needed more room. I had a sibling. And I think growing up in Charlotte, you just knew as a kid, especially like your parents moved to the suburbs, you kind of know the areas not to go to, but you don't realize the changes. So like you said, when I was in high school, we went to university all the time. You go there for prom, walk the boardwalk. That was a cute little date. So
cheap little date.
Okay, that too. So now you see it, and I still enjoy sitting at that wine vault, but it is a different vibe. Mm-hmm. And so I, went to school and would come back and see, like you said, I visit my grandma who lived near LaSalle, and it's like, oh, okay. Things look a little different. Or, I worked at that food line near Greer Heights. It was a little sketchy in college when I worked there. But then again, you would just see the shifts of things, or like you say, fancy cheeses. So I think I started seeing it, but I didn't have a name for it. And I think once I had a name for it, it turned into, like you said, at first it's just anger in terms of like, well, why aren't we preserving history? I think maybe one of the last things we have, and who knows what they're going to do with it, is Excelsior.
Oh, they're going to knock it down. It's going to be a boutique hotel. Well, literally just left a meeting from it last Tuesday.
Guess we don't have that anymore.
The owners from California knock it. He's trying to buy the 2 properties behind it for a parking deck to go along with the boutique hotel.
Nice.
So that's Beatties Ford Road's future.
Awesome. So I would think, like, why can't we be more like a Memphis, where at least they have the building? And I think it was more of an anger, and it turned into, well, what can we do about it? Because I don't like just that reactive feeling. And so I think for me, once I knew what it was, once I saw it, once you see people who can't afford their homes and their home is paid off, doesn't make sense to me. It became what can we do about it for those who want to stay? What can we do about it for those who want to preserve something? So I think for me at first, similar to what you were saying, like, I could see it, but I didn't really know. Or even growing up in Charlotte, and like I said, going to totally different schools from my brother, who is 5 years younger than me. It just didn't make sense. Like, I don't understand why we never went to any of the same schools. And had Vance not built, I would have been built. I would have gone all the way to North Meck. Even though like Garinger is closer technically to where I was growing up than going all the way to North Meck. So
again, I went to Myers Park.
Yeah.
I went, and not to, you know, I've been doing this all episode. Also, I think when you're black, you don't have the luxury of looking at school statistics from that surface level and thinking, okay, this is a better school for my son or my child. Because, you know, when they say this is the best school, you got to ask, who did they poll on that? Because my experience at Myers Park isn't what, you know, a white kid from that neighborhood's experience at Myers Park. You know, we have to do just like the real estate agent. We got to do a little bit more vetting. I want to know how many black teachers are in this space, how many black administrators, how many teachers are graduates of HBCUs. You know, because again, I'm trying to find a space where my child's confidence will be nurtured.
Right.
You know, it's not all about test scores. It's how do you develop and nurture a child. You know, so even I can arguably say why some Title I schools in Charlotte could be better for a black child than the most elite. Yeah. Because of that foundation of nurturing.
And that's really just as important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took me going to a...
Because I know that, you know, Lee knows, like, my son's first through second grades, he was in, you know, a Title I charter school. And I would never take anything from it. I mean, he had HBC, like they put the HBCUs during Black History Month, like it was the HBCUs on the doors. They knew about the colleges, you know, the sororities. Like it was, you walk down the halls and it was full of that. He had African-American male teachers that weren't gym teachers, you know, that weren't, it was like, no, your math teacher is an African-American male. He looks like you. You go into an admin, they look like you. And those are his, you know, formative years. So now that he is in a different charter school, like he goes in there and is like, you know,
everything is based on confidence.
Yeah,
you have to be confident, and it's so important to nurture the confidence of black children.
It is,
and that takes an entire infrastructure.
Yeah, it does.
You know, but again, when you have a white standard, it's hard to see the nuance in that. You know, so.
That's real. And you know what else we're confident in, D&D fam, that you need to look into these plans and go to these meetings. And if you're in Charlotte, we're going to hit you up on this vibe called Fresh. You need to go. Yeah. Maybe you'll see a rap video. In the meantime, we want to thank you for being here with us and dropping so much knowledge. I think it's so important, especially now with everything going on. You can follow us, D&D fam. We're on Instagram and Facebook under Divas and Ducats. We are www.divasandducats.com. If you're on YouTube, you've been watching all this time, why have you not subscribed? And yes, click that button, click that bell. And we will be on Money Talk the third Thursday in July and August. So that's July 15th and August 19th. If you are not in Virginia, where the radio station is based, you can still see us live from 5 to 6 p.m. on those days on moneytalk1310.com.
Yes.
All right.
About that. Thank you, Winston, for coming.
And thank you both.
Amazing.
It has been an absolute pleasure. This was such a spirited and fun conversation. So fun, I almost got caught slipping a few times. Like, you know, you got to realize I'm on a podcast and this will be out.
You Look, you try to make it so we can't share the video. So we
gotta bleep it, censor it.
But thank you so much for hosting.
Thank you so much.
All right, D&D fam. In the meantime, in between time,
have a great attitude.
All right, bye.
Bye.